You learn from your losses. Man, listen, those losses, especially when people talking trash, oh my goodness. Your ability to recover can teach you so much. It teaches you resilience. We talked about it. It can teach you the ability to see it through. Some of my friends, they quit every day we played pickleball. Every day. They're like, look, now not physically, but how many of us know that we can quit mentally? Like, I'm not doing this another day. And then we show up again. Why? Because you learn how to talk yourself through the losses. You learn how to talk yourself through the lessons. And you learn how to say, okay, man, if somebody keeps beating me like this, there's a flaw in my game. And that's when I think as a leader, you start picking up on stuff. You're just like, okay, it's not just the game. Because we all have the same ball. We're all playing on the same court. But man, it's me every time I hit the ball. And listen, this was a lesson I had to realize. I said, man, listen, this was a sad truth. I said, man, every time I play on somebody's team, they lose.
Are you ready? We're gonna run the play. Let's go. Do you know what it's like to come from nothing at all, but every day you just wanting it all? Do you know what it's like? Every day facing your fear, but believing that your blessing is near. Do you know what it's like? Growing up broken than most, but still being devoted the most. Do you know what it's like? Yeah, that's what the journey's about. Yeah. Let me show you how.
What's going on, y'all? This is Justin Owens, back in the Run the Play show. I help break down the top plays of success from top leaders, entrepreneurs, and personalities by sharing gems from their personal playbook. And today, I want y'all to get ready to explore an unlikely source of leadership wisdom. This is from my playbook, the pickleball court. A lot of y'all know, look, your boy we've been out here in the pickleball court, and man, you'll be really amazed about what the sport can really teach us from a leadership standpoint. And what if I told you could transform your leadership approach by what you learn on the pickleball court? So that's what I'm excited to be able to dive into today in this episode. So I want to share a couple lessons. Number one is, tools, right? Are you investing in the right tools? Do you have the right equipment? And it's really two lessons, and they're going to almost sound like they kind of contradict each other, but I'm going to tell you why. If y'all look at these two paddles, so this one right here, this is the first paddle I started with. First of all, I didn't know if I wanted to play the game right then. At the beginning, I said, listen, most of the paddles I was looking at was $150, $250. I don't know if I want to go there yet. So look, I'm going to start off on Amazon with this little $75 paddle. And listen, I'm going to let y'all know right now, I was trash, okay? Absolute trash. And it actually wasn't the paddle's fault. I will say that. I just wasn't good. And you all will find out why some of the other lessons, why it really makes sense. But after I started playing, right, I got into the game. And then initially, after I started getting better, I said, man, maybe I should have went ahead and bought the initial paddles that I was looking at because I needed it anyway. So now I really wasted like $75, $80 on a paddle that I'm not going to use anymore. A lot of times, maybe if I have some friends that come on, they'll be able to start with these because it's a great starter paddle. Then I had to invest into getting a better paddle, right? So it's two lessons that I want to share with you all from a leadership standpoint. And like I said, they're going to sound like they contradict each other. Number one is, don't be cheap with your investment. Why? Because anytime I've been cheap with anything, I always have to end up spending more. Why? Because I have to buy the cheap thing, and then I have to end up buying the thing that I was going to buy anyway, right? We teach it from a branding standpoint. Don't be cheap with your brand. The other thing is, sometimes you do got to start where you are. And so if that's all you can do is that, then do that. But from a leadership question, I want you to ask yourself is, are you equipping your team with the best that you can do, right? And I think that's the part that's really important is it not am I equipping my team with the best that's out there, because obviously that's the goal, but am I equipping my team with the best that I can do? Because here's what I can tell you. Although I wasn't incredibly great at the sport initially, and I'm still a work in progress, so this is really part one of the lessons that I've learned, is that it dramatically improved my game. There are balls that I used to hit out that when I changed my paddle, it didn't go out anymore. There are balls that I used to wasn't able to be able to get in that I was now able to get in. Why? Because I simply changed my equipment. And so from a personal growth and self-development standpoint as a leader is, what equipment do you need to change, right? What books do you need to invest into, right? What skills do you need to learn so you can be more effective as a leader, but also in pickleball as a player? Because I'm gonna let y'all know right now, for anybody that is ready for the smoke, I'm ready. All right, just let y'all know right now. All right, so that was number one. All right, we're looking at the equipment, right? Making sure we're not cheap with our leaders. We're making sure we're not cheap with people that we're working with, and also our own personal growth and self-development. Number 2, this one is big. I had a lot of lessons, but we've been told, like, don't judge a book by its cover. Let me tell you, it's very important in pickleball because I got beat, smoked, destroyed, crushed by some people that was in their 70s and 80s, and they were talking trash. Do y'all understand? Do you know how frustrating it is to know physically I'm probably faster, physically I may be stronger, but here mentally you're outthinking me. But here's where I learned something about leadership is that, see, pickleball, you can't judge a book by its cover because anybody can be a winner. Actually, some of the people that look like they were the most athletic end up being the worst people because they were always the ones doing too much, trying to be Superman with the ball, hitting it out of bounds. But man, it started making me think about business because how many times do we think that somebody's a leader based on how they look, but in reality, based on what they do, they weren't winners. See, age was an appearance. And here's something else. I actually was losing games. I didn't realize this. It took me probably, I'm not even gonna lie to you, it probably took me 2 weeks to realize I was losing a lot of games because I was prejudging people because I was new. So what I would do is I would look at 2 teams, because we normally play doubles. The doubles is 2 people on each side of the net. So I'm looking at both sides, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hit it to the old lady. Why? Because she ain't gonna be able to take this, you know what I'm saying? I knock it down to her, she can't handle it. And then I was knocking it down and she was hitting it back to me. I was like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Then I do it again, I'm like, no, there's no way. That was a mistake. She got that on accident, right? Then I do it again. And then before you know it, we're down 5, 6, 7 points. The game only goes to 11. But then I started realizing, I was like, wait a minute, why am I just assuming that based on how a person looks, based on their height, based on their weight, based on their... Now, what I do is I judge people on their skills. I don't even look at their age. Like, I've had some teammates that, like, I mean, some of y'all saw me post online. Like, man, older in age, but man, when it comes to the game, they understood the game. How many of us have misjudged leaders, right? We misjudge leaders, or potential leaders, I like to call them that, because you really don't know who you have, especially at the beginning. But a lot of mistakes that I see leaders sometimes make is they spend time with people that they want to be leaders. They spend time with people that have the look of a leader. But the things that really make a leader, you can't necessarily see just by appearances. It's based on what's on the inside. It's based on what's here. It's based on the heart. It's based on the work ethic. It's based on the skill set. And so that was another lesson I learned. Don't judge a book by its cover, because you will get cooked out there. You understand? Right? The next thing I really learned from pickleball, and this one was really, really big, was communication is really, really important. As you start playing the game, one of the strategies to the game is you hit the ball down the middle of the court. Why? Well, because when you have 2 people, most people aren't good communicators. And so when you throw it down the middle, what happens is somebody's probably going to think that you got it, and then you're probably going to think that they got it, and then the other team ends up winning a point because nobody does anything. See, in pickleball, I learned even if it is your ball and is clearly seen that it's your ball, you should call it out. So now when you're working with a good teammate, they be like, hey, my ball. Hey, your ball. Hey, I got that. Hey, you got that one. At the beginning of the games, we start talking, hey, listen, man, I'm new to the game. So right now, there may be some balls that come here that I may let go out because I want to see, my gauge. Also let them know my weaknesses. They ask you, hey, are you better with your forehand or your backhand, right? You start communicating so they understand, hey, what are you good at? Some people say, hey, man, listen. Like one guy was like, hey, man, I tore my rotator cuff a couple months ago, and so there's no high ball. I can't really get to a lot of the high balls, like if I go up here. So anything that comes up there that's in the middle or somewhere where you can get to, I'm just going to bow out and let you have those. See, what it took was communication to be able to say, hey, look, this is what I'm good at. Hey, this is not, here's what I'm not good at. Here's something else that we would do. We would look at the other team and then we would say, hey, man, this is what they're good at and this is what they're not good at. See, what is all of this? It's effective communication, right? And as a leader, you have to be willing, as you're talking to your team, to talk about strengths, to talk about weaknesses, to talk about when it's something that you're going to take, to talk about when it's something that they're going to handle. How many times as a leader do we have miscommunication, right? Miscommunication is simple. Is you thought you communicated something, but you missed. That's why we call it miscommunication. So I thinking that you're gonna handle this. You're thinking that I'm gonna handle this. And neither of us do it because we didn't actually communicate what was going to be done. How many times have we done that in business? How many times have we done that in our relationships? How many times have we done that with our friends? See, this is something that's very, very, very important. So here was another thing that was really hard for me to get. It was humility, right? And here's what humility is to me, right? It's just simply understanding there's something that you don't know. And it's even worse when you have to have humility after you get beat. So you know, one of the things they would tell you in pickleball is like, hey, when you're working with a player that's better than you, is to ask them for feedback on your game. And here's what I started noticing, right? Is one, there were some people that I thought were arrogant, that I thought were just rude, but they weren't. They were just very confident in what they were doing. And as soon as I switched to feedback, their whole attitude changed. Now this is important sometimes from a leadership standpoint, because sometimes we can look at people and be like, man, who do they think they are? Man, they think they're so great. Man, they think they're so powerful. They think they're so this. And then you go over and then you ask them for some feedback and you see them open up. You're like, man, this person is so cool. It's one of the nicest people I've ever met. How many times have we misdiagnosed people? You ever met somebody and you thought they were stuck up or they were rude or they were, you know, snotty or any of that stuff, and it's like, then you get a chance to talk to them, you're like, man, that's the coolest person I know. Why? Because you get a chance to open up and you get a chance to know a person. Where humility comes into is when you get started in a business. Am I humble enough to ask for help? You know, humility means I'm willing to not know, right? Many of you all know we just started a new business. And so, man, there are things that I know how to do well. Look, I know how to grow a business. I know how to grow a network of people. I know how to teach sales. I know how to teach marketing. I know how to build an organization. But what I didn't know was solar. That was a new business for me. And so now I'm over here like, okay, I don't try to act like I know about solar. I don't try to act like I know everything that's happening. What I do is I say, okay, well, I didn't know that. Had no clue about that. So, teach me. Are you humble enough to accept feedback from others? See, humility, if you're willing to ask for feedback and get the questions answered, can shorten your learning curve, ladies and gentlemen, by years. But here's what it also does. It also lets people know that they can trust you, because you're showing that you don't know everything. There's people on your team that may know more than you about an area. You may know more than them about an area. But do you have trust in an environment where they can ask you for feedback and they feel like they don't have to be judged, right? Because now I've had some people ask me like, hey man, is there anything I can do better? And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. 2.5 months ago, I was asking for feedback. And I give them some honest feedback. And here's the thing, when people are giving me feedback, there's two things that comes to humility. Number one, we talked about this before, right? Am I willing to learn? And then number two, am I willing to change? See, yes, I was willing to learn because I was getting my butt whooped. Do you understand? Look, some of the feedback was simple. Like one of the guys, he looked at my grip. He said, listen, I'm telling you right now, one of the things you got going on is I was holding the paddles like this. I mean, some of you guys don't know, but I was holding the paddles like this, and sometimes I hit the ball and the ball hit my finger. He said, listen, one thing, just you know how you shake somebody's hand, right? He said, that's how your grip should be on your paddle. I was like, what? Oh my goodness. It was something that was simple, but it stuck with me. So even in the middle of a game, if I feel like my grip is off, I just reset it. Hey, act like I'm shaking somebody's hand. Boom, that's the grip. I feel it every single time, right? And then some people's like, hey, look, when the ball's up in the air, right? It's like you watch it all the way down, but you don't have to hit it so hard, because every time you hit it so hard, it goes straight out of bounds. I'm like, yeah, it does that every time. Lighten up, go about 60%. Man, I started going 60%, and the ball started landing in. So what was it? I was willing to learn because I was willing to ask the questions. But then I was willing to change because then I had to change my grip. I had to change how I was hitting. You know, when I was up in the front by the kitchen, that's the block right in front of the net. I had to learn how to dink. That's what they call it. And they were giving me tips. Hey, Justin, you're holding the paddle too hard. So when the ball hits the paddle, it's going there too hard. See, it takes humility to now change your approach. You know, if somebody tells you, hey, maybe you're communicating the wrong way or the way that you're communicating is not being received. I just recently had that. Like, am I humble enough to accept it? Or maybe if I'm not humble enough in the moment to accept it, am I humble enough to receive it and then apologize later? Again, leadership tips. Now here's something else that's really big, is integrity. It's a big word, right? See, in pickleball, you call your own out. You call your own faults. And I realized it was an honor system. You know, shout out to my boy, you know, Kevin and Vince and Kimberly and Alex, the whole crew, right? Like, everybody's like, hey, man, you stepping in the kitchen. And, like, when you see yourself in the kitchen, you got to call it. If there's a ball that's out, it's your call. But you don't want to cheat. It's integrity. It's an honor system. And guess what? What I've learned is that when you call it right, even if it's not in your favor, people respect it. So guess what? They start to call it right. See, integrity is a leadership game, because guess what? When I do it right, it causes other people to do it right. But when I do it wrong, guess what it does? It's a snowball effect. Now the people that would normally call something in, a lot of times, sometimes they'll be like, oh, no, that was out too. I mean, hey, that one was out over there, so this one is out too. And it becomes this game where now you start having people bicker and they go back and forth about points. So sometimes people just don't want to play with you anymore. Well, that happens in business, doesn't it? You know, lack of integrity. How many people say, man, I don't want to do that anymore, right? Man, you said this, but so it's can you do what you say you're going to do? Right? And if you can't do what you say you're gonna do, can you communicate it? Like, I've had some balls, I'm like, man, oh man, I thought that was in, bro. It might have been, but I really don't know. Let's do a redo. Or sometimes like, nah, man, that was in. Sometimes my partner called in, I'm like, bro, I saw it. You my guy, but that was out, right? So can I correct it by communication? Absolutely. And here was something else I learned. This will be a good one too, is that, you know, understand that pickleball, it's a skill set, right? You don't get better at pickleball just because you want to, right? You don't get better just because people talk trash. You have to get better. All right, shout out to Bo, right? This is older Asian man that's at the gym. Man, he's the one that made me take pickleball serious. So shout out to you, man, because you changed my pickleball game. This is when I had this paddle. I was feeling good about myself. Came up to the court, started playing ball. Boom, boom, boom. He was watching me. He said, man, when I first saw you, man, I thought, man, this guy's an athlete. This guy's going to be great. He said, man, what happened? I said, wait a minute now. Hold on. You know when somebody disrespects you real slick, you don't even realize it? I said, wait, did he just say what happened? So next game I'll play, I'm like, I'm out there trying to do better. Now listen, I hadn't improved any. Now I was just upset because he was talking trash about me. Sometimes we see people do that on social media. Somebody's talking trash, they throwing shots, and you just think, oh, let me just throw a shot back and all this stuff. No, listen, that next day I ordered new paddles. The next day, ordered new shoes. Next day, ordered my right equipment. Because I said, no, I'm gonna be the best equipped. But then it wasn't just the equipment. See, I didn't just buy the books. Paddle. I didn't just get the shoes, maybe the equipment. Now you got a nice camera. Now you got all the computer and all that. Because now I had to learn the skill. I had to set up lessons. I did. I had to set up some lessons. And I had to take the time. And what was interesting about the lessons, it was the stuff that was so basic that I had to do that really started changing my game. And that really leads to my next point. Is remember how it feels to be new. One of the things I love about this game is, you know, a couple times a year, I try to pick up something new. Like last year was swimming, right? And I haven't mastered that yet, but I'm gonna finish it, right? I was just listening to Will Smith's book. He didn't learn how to swim till he was in his 40s, so I'm on track, right? Jay-Z did the same thing. He didn't learn until after his daughter was born, so I feel like we still got some time, right? But I try to pick up something where I can remember how it feels to be new, because sometimes as a leader, especially when you've worked in your craft and you got good at what you're doing, we forget, and we can forget how it feels to be a new person, how it feels to be confused all over again, how to feel like something that's so simple but is not working, but somebody having the patience to play with you. See, here's what I learned. As you get better in pickleball, the more advanced players don't want to play with beginners. Why? Because they want to have good games. And they know that if they play with you, it's not going to be a good game and it's not going to be a good experience. But man, some of the people I learned from the most were the ones that say, hey man, I understand how it feels to be new. During the game, every time you make a mistake, they weren't like, oh my goodness, this guy's trash. They're like, hey man, it's okay. It's okay, man, listen. How long you been playing? A month and a half. Oh man, a month and a half? Man, do you know where I was at a month and a half? And I've been playing a year and a half. And man, they would just keep me going. They would just keep me going. And I was paying attention. And I started learning from them. So it's two things. One, remember how it feels to be new. So now as a leader, you're working with new people. But also as a leader, if you've been doing it for a while, don't forget to make people feel okay for making mistakes. Don't forget to make them feel okay for being new, for getting better, right? Here's something else I learned. I can't judge my skill set today based off of somebody that's been doing it much longer than me, right? This is a bonus point because I realize that's something that sometimes people do in business. It's like, okay, I'm playing against guys that have been playing for a year and a half, but I just started last week. Justin, in what world do you really think you should be able to compete with people that have been doing this for 18 months longer than you? How many lessons did they take? How many hours have they put in? But sometimes we get in business as leaders, and we think because I have experience in this other area, I should just automatically be good here. And ladies and gentlemen, that is not how it works. And it's a flaw, right? It's a bad lens to be looking through. Because now I start doing the comparison game, but I'm not even comparing it fairly. What's best to compare it to is, hey man, how am I comparing against the beginners? Right? And this is where the honesty comes in on you. Like, there's some people that, look, they come in, you're really a beginner, but they want to play with the advanced. But I'm like, bro, you're not advanced. You can't even play in the advanced league. And it happens in business, happens in leadership. And so it's like, man, it's back to that humility. I'm not judging based on where you are and where I am and where I want to be. But it's like, man, it's realizing I don't know some stuff, right? It's realizing there's some things that I need to learn. All right, next point, adaptability, okay? You got to be able to adapt in the game. Listen, there are some people that throw some serves at you, and you got to be able to adapt in game, not after game, right? You can't, sometimes you can't adapt after the game is over. Now, you can reflect after the game is over, but there's some things in the game you got to adapt to quickly, right? I would ask people, like, as I started getting better, because when you're not good, let me tell you what they do. They target the person that's trash, right? That's what they do. They just hit the ball to the person that's trash. So if you're brand new to pickleball, congratulations. A lot of balls are coming your way because they realize very quickly you're the weak link. All right, that's another point. Don't be the weak link. We'll talk about that in maybe part 2, right? But right, but people start realizing, okay, this person's not good. So now I had to make sure we were hitting the balls a certain way and setting people up in a way that they couldn't attack our weaknesses, right? And that's called adapting. See, in business, people are gonna throw serves at you that are curveballs sometimes. Sometimes they're gonna throw floaters. It's not gonna be like, sometimes we just want the serve that just comes to us perfect every single time. Oh man, this is easy. It's perfect, it's easy. Man, I wish everybody could just do, hey, can we set it up with the customers? You don't gotta worry about any credit. Customers don't have to worry about any of this. We don't have to worry about any of that. Okay, well listen, if we didn't have to worry about any of that stuff, if you didn't have to adapt, why do we need you? We would just need order takers. We wouldn't need anybody with any skill. We wouldn't need anybody that could adapt. We wouldn't need leaders that could create change. See, leaders, you have to have the ability to have quick thinking and adaptability. Like maybe you come in with a game plan and it is not working for this team that you're playing. Can you adapt? Can you communicate through it? Can you be humble enough to say, hey man, listen, what we thought was working is not it. So, hey, guy in the blue is actually pretty good, but he can't go low. Let's hit it to his feet. So all the balls, instead of going low, instead of going high, we're gonna go to his feet. And then there's some people I've noticed, man, you hit the ball floater, all of these they can hit all day, but man, if they got to go up here, 9 times out of 10 when they hit the ball, because they love hitting it so hard, they're gonna hit out of bounds. So we had to adapt our strategies in the game. I've been down sometimes 9-0, 10-0, and come back and win the game. Why? Because you learn how to adapt and adjust in the game. That's a really, really big point. Anybody can adapt after the game. And it's still important to adapt after the game, to catch these lessons. But man, for the leaders that become special, that you can adapt in the game, in conversation, in the moment, in the conversation, in the conflict, man, that's when you become a really special leader, okay? Here's something else that's really big, is understanding team dynamics. You know, listen, when I realize there's teams that can't communicate, we're attacking it, right? When we realize there's some people that maybe they're great side to side, but they can't go forward and back. You got to start understanding as a leader, man, like what is the compatibility of the people that you have working together? Do I have the best teams put together? That's where understanding personality types come in. Understand, man, how do I move people? How do I communicate with people to get the best, out of them? And here's another one I learned, right? It's two things. Is preparation, right? I had to learn I couldn't just go into the game. I had to prepare. So, I would have to stretch. You're stretching before the game. Look, as you get older, for my people that's a little younger here, I know we got a mixed community that listen to the podcast. Man, stretching is very important, okay? Nobody tells you that. Just listen to me. Stretch. I tore my Achilles because I didn't stretch. I never got injured before, so I was like, I don't need to stretch. That's for old people. But the thing is, when you get old, you don't realize you're the old person. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't hit you until later. Like, wait a minute, I'm that guy. But also recovery. Like, do you have rest days? Do you give your body time to rest? Are you taking the right things? Supplements, things to help you with recovery. Are you stretching after the fact? Well, man, the same thing with business. Preparation. What are some things you need to do before you talk to your team? Are you showing up as the best person? Are you leaving an argument and now transferring that energy over to your team? Are you leaving a bad situation? Maybe you go from being at the bank, you're looking at your bank account, it's not where you wanted to be, and then you come over here to people and now you're frustrated. You're not even frustrated at them, you're frustrated about yourself and your bank account, but now you're putting it on them. You're putting it on your customers because you're frustrated about yourself. Well, that's poor leadership. So can you take time to stretch, to get it out, to show up as your best version of yourself, and then afterwards, listen, am I able to make sure that I'm recovering? Am I finding the weak spots in my game, right? Am I taking time to rest and to recharge so that I can be the best person, right? So my last lesson is you learn from your losses. Man, listen, those losses, especially when people talking trash, oh my goodness. Your ability to recover can teach you so much. It teaches you resilience. We talked about it. It can teach you the ability to see it through. Some of my friends, they quit every day we played pickleball. Every day. They're like, look, now not physically, but how many of us know that we can quit mentally? Like, I'm not doing this another day, and then we show up again. Why? Because you learn how to talk yourself through the losses. You learn how to talk yourself through the lessons. And you learn how to say, okay, if somebody keeps beating me like this, there's a flaw in my game. And that's when I think as a leader, you start picking up on stuff. You're just like, okay, it's not just the game. Because we all have the same ball. We're all playing on the same court. But man, it's me every time I hit the ball. And listen, this was a lesson I had to realize. I said, man, listen, this was a sad truth. I said, man, every time I play on somebody's team, they lose. I said, look, they was winning before I came. When I got here, they were losing. So I had to take personal responsibility. I said, wait a minute, I'm not gonna be the weak link no more. So I recovered from the losses by talking to myself the right way, but then the losses turned into lessons because I was doing the things we talked about, having the humility to ask, right? Taking the lessons, investing into the equipment, because those losses, the people talking junk, all of that turned into Justin taking pickleball serious on a whole nother level. So I'm just letting you know now, I travel with my pickleball paddle, right? 90% of the time it's in my bag. And I got a ball. So if you see me in another city and you're ready for smoke, let me know. We're not taking no prisoners, right? Some of my coaching sessions that we have next year is going to include pickleball. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, play pickleball with Justin and we have a coaching session. You're going to have to, set that up, right? My coaching sessions are going to start being in places that I enjoy to be. So get ready for that. But man, listen, I hope you all really enjoyed this conversation. This is really part one, right? I'm in my personal journey learning pickleball. I'm not great, but I'm way better than I was, 3 months ago because I didn't know about the game. And I'm getting better every single week that we get a chance to play. And man, that's how I feel like business should be. That's how I feel like it should be as a leader. You're not the best leader today, but man, are you better than the person you were 90 days ago? You know, are you handling situations better than you were, 60 days ago? The challenges that you're getting brought to your table now, are you better equipped for it? But here's a better question. Is your team better as well? See, before you can lead other people, you have to lead yourself. But as you're leading yourself, are you also leading others? See, that's something as we're building this company. We're looking at like, okay, hey man, hey, great, we're making sales, but are the people learning? Are they understanding how to have the conversation effectively? Are they understanding how to have those conversations to help people understand why solar really makes sense for them as a investment for their home? See, the real leaders can not only do this for themselves, but here's my last bonus lesson, that a true leader, even if they're not the best player, they learn how to make and get the best out of their teammate. See, I understood as I start playing the game, there's some people, they like you to be tougher on them. It's a form of communication. There's some people I learned that, man, if you're tough on them, they crumble and they fall. There's some people you can give them feedback during the game, but there's some people that they can't take feedback through the game. They're gonna mess up. They gotta give them feedback afterwards. I start learning as I'm working with different leaders how I have to communicate challenges, how I have to communicate flaws, how I have to communicate areas of improvement. When is the best time to do that? How is the best time to do that? In what tone should I do that? How do they receive feedback best? And then it's my job as a leader, one of the most important skills as a leader is to be a communicator, is can I communicate it more effectively? So this has been the Run the Play show with Justin Owens, giving y'all some of my plays from my personal playbook when it comes to pickleball, but man, also leadership that you can apply to your organization, your business, your family, and any other area that you want to improve as a leader. We just gave you the play, so now go run it. See you on the next episode. Let's get it. What's going on? Listen, make sure you guys go to RunThePlayStore.com. Get your official Run the Play gear. We talk about shirts, socks, jackets for everybody that's Run the Play all across the world.
Are you ready? We're gonna run the play. Let's go. Do you know what it's like to come from nothing at all, but every day you just wanting it all? Do you know what it's like?